Northwest Now is supported, in part, by viewers like you. Thank you.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Well, the media and open government advocates have been shouting about public records for years. But as my little granddaughter would say, it's not working. Washington State used to have one of the most robust public records acts in the nation. But now, with a whopping list of 650 exemptions and a legislature bent on exercising a self-granted right of privilege, the PRA is losing its teeth. Tonight, our annual program on public records, your right to government transparency, and the ongoing effort to severely limit that right. The Washington Coalition of Open Government is here discussing the latest legislation that threatens the PRA. Our Steve Kiggins with the story of activists using public records to hold the powerful accountable. And Seattle Times reporter Shauna Sowersby talking about her years-long effort to hold lawmakers accountable when it comes to public records. Your right to government transparency and public records is the discussion next on Northwest Now. The nation is in a righteous tizzy about the lack of transparency in Washington, D.C. Sadly, though, lawmakers and local governments in the Democratic stronghold that is Washington State are having a hold my beer moment when it comes to demonstrating the will to operate in secret. Their claim of privilege against the Public Records Act is ongoing and being litigated in court, with another list of bills proposed in the legislature designed to further weaken the PRA. One example was House Bill 1055 that had the potential to rewrite the PRA by reducing a requester's access to the courts. Meanwhile, some local governments and taxing authorities continue to frustrate requests and just shrug their shoulders and pay fines with taxpayer money when they lose in court. Tonight, here on the eve of Sunshine Week, when the obvious benefits of an open and transparent government are celebrated nationwide, we're doing our 13th annual program on this topic. Let's begin with Steve Kiggins and the story of local activists trying to use public records to really understand what happened during the civic unrest in the summer of 2020.
The timely production of public records is essential for a functioning democracy.
Glen Stellmacher isn't just an architect, he's an eyewitness to historic protests in Seattle back in 2020. The experience forged his focus into a new title, investigative journalist.
Some of these stories have never been disclosed before.
Today his work is published on his website, Hard Pressed. He's got bylines at online news outlet Prism and has been locally published in Real Change. It all began when he submitted a public records request to Seattle Police Department seeking answers surrounding officers' use of force and chemical agents.
The questions just kept on coming, and fast forward 5 years later, and now I'm a freelance investigative reporter.
Public records played a large role in Stellmacher's report in Real Change, covering SPD's use of aerial surveillance during 2020 protests. A portion of the report describes when the King County Sheriff's Office Air Support Unit assisted SPD apprehending someone accused of assaulting officers making an arrest. But Stellmacher questions the efficacy of SPD relying on aerial video in the case.
What is unclear is if this technology actually pinpointed the right individual. What we found was that the individual who was arrested was later released and not charged with any crime.
But access to public records isn't always as easy as requesting them. Stellmacher recently settled with the city of Seattle over access to text messages he says the department failed to disclose related to 2020 protests. The Seattle Times announced in January it's also suing SPD, alleging Public Records Act violations. For Stellmacher, digging for the truth about how Seattle polices the public will be revealed one public record at a time, but he says the truth should come out a lot faster.
We should not have to be waiting this long for answers to critical questions.
In Seattle, Steve Kiggins, Northwest Now.